They are both of them proposing to replace the carbon tax with a carbon capture technology. I have a question for both of them. Pierre and Mark, did you fail your Biology 101 course? Why do you want to spend billions of dollars on this inefficient and costly technology to capture CO2? We don't need a technology to capture CO2. We already have a very efficient and natural technology to do it. Yes, plants. Yes, plants are doing that. CO2 is food for plants. It is not a pollutant. So that's Biology 101. I'm asking you guys, stop bullshitting Canadians on this issue. Tell them the truth. But the PPC is doing that. We are telling you the truth. CO2 is a gas that is essential for life, is food for plants, and the PPC will be the only national political party that will withdraw from the Paris Accord and won't impose any climate change programs because there's no climate emergency.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bernier. How are you today?
Great, thank you.
Awesome. I see the CBC is in attendance here listening. I've noticed that they don't put your picture up on any of their websites or on any of their announcements for the federal election. And given the fact that you did get more votes than the Green Party, I feel like I know the answer, but I just wanted to get you to comment on why you think they're excluding you from even pictures from the election.
It is not professional. You know, you can share other views than our views. Sorry, the question is about CBC, that, you know, they're not putting our face over there when they're speaking about the campaign. It's like we don't exist. And it's not only good for CBCs, the Devoir in French here and TVA in French also. They don't want to, they're not professional. You know, if you're a journalist, a reporters, you must report the facts. And the facts is the PPC exists. We had more votes than the Green Party of Canada, but because our vote is not, you know, concentrated in one region, we don't have any MPs. The Green Party was able, with 2% of the vote, to have 2 candidates elected at the last election. Their vote is very concentrated. But you know what? I like that my vote is not concentrated because it's all over the country. We have supporters in French in Quebec, in English in Ontario, all across the country, and that's great. So it's they're not professional. That's not ethical, and actually that's not democratic what they're doing. And they did the same thing actually at the last campaign. The day of the night of the campaign, they put our face at the last day of the campaign in 2021, and under my name, instead of writing People's Party of Canada, they wrote PP and not PPC. They wrote PP. We had to call them to tell them, you know, can you do what is right? The name of the party is the People's Party of Canada. So for CBC, we will cut your funding. We will cut $1.2 billion. And Radio-Canada also, by the way. Poilievre is too afraid to speak about cutting Radio-Canada because for him, Radio-Canada is popular in Quebec. We will cut that. We want the media to be independent. And if CBC is going bankrupt, that's okay. We are in a capitalist system. When you're not able to sell your goods and services, you go bankrupt. So let's do that. But, you know, CBC is showing us their real face. By doing that, they're showing us that they're not journalists. They're radical leftist activists. That's what CBC is.
To follow up on that, as far as mainstream media goes as well, I've noticed that no one has addressed Mark Carney with regard to the pictures taken at his estate with Ghislaine Maxwell. And there is a clear connection with him and Ghislaine Maxwell. His sister-in-law opened a DeBoer's diamond store with her in the early 2000s. I just wanted to get your comments on that as well.
No, I don't want to comment on that. I want to comment on real facts. And Mark Carney and his policy are this will destroy the country. And so I don't have to go and a picture who took with who. For me, it's not that important. This man with his policies will destroy our country and also the middle class in Canada. It's enough for me, and that must be enough for Canadians for them not to vote for him.
Thank you for taking my question, sir. Hello again. It's strange that there's a bunch of people here and they don't have questions. You may be aware I did a hidden camera investigation on election fraud in Ontario because you don't need ID to vote in Ontario elections, which is insane. The same is also true with the federal election. On their website, option 2, you can just show 2 pieces of ID. They do not need to have photo ID. You can use something as insane as a pill container with your name on it in conjunction with a bank statement. So we clearly do not have secure elections in Canada. I just wanted to get your comments on that, please.
The question is about our electoral system because in Canada, like in Ontario, when you go and you vote, you don't have to show an ID with your photo and your face on it and your address. You can show other things and you'll be able to vote. So what is my position on that? First of all, everybody who wants to vote, they need to show their face. They need to have an ID with their face on it and their address. And the day of the votation must be one day, the day of the election, and that's it. And we must have scrutineer, and we must do like we are doing on the election day with scrutineers, and we are counting votes by hands. That's great. I don't want to have any machines or Dominion machines, and actually we are not using that at the federal level. That's a good news, but we are not asking for an ID. So yes, everybody must have an ID to vote, and I'm against, promoting the mail-in ballots. I don't like that. That was an exception in the beginning, and that must stay an exception. At the last election, Elections Canada said that didn't count about 200,000 mail-in ballots. So that must change. People must vote in person. And, if we're doing that, that will save the integrity of our electoral system. Now we are at risk.
I'm shocked how few questions you're getting here. SDTC, Green Slush Fund, there have been no criminal charges. I was just curious if you support the idea of criminally charging Stephen Guilbeault for essentially stealing millions of dollars through Cycle Capital and all cabinet members who as well benefited from SDTC during the last Liberal cabinet.
What I'm saying about that, we need to have a real investigation and a parliamentary commission on that. I want to see everything. We must open the books and know. I want to have more facts about that. I want answer your question directly because I want to know a little bit more about it. But to know more about it, we need to have an investigation, and we are for that. We need to open the books and know everything. And after that, if there's proof of that, the RCMP must do their job.
Final question for you, just on the tariffs. It's the case that China has also imposed tariffs on us, but not a single politician has said a peep about that beyond Scott Moe in Saskatchewan. And I was just curious, your opinion on those tariffs from China, and more importantly, why none of the federal candidates have addressed that whatsoever.
Yeah, the question is also Trump is imposing, sorry, not Trump, China is imposing tariff on us, on Canadians, and why, these establishment leaders are not speaking about that. What do you think about that? You must ask that question to them, why they're not speaking about that. It's sad that they're doing that. It's because I believe so that the Chinese are doing that because we don't want to have their electric cars here in Canada, and they don't want to speak about that because if they are speaking about it, they will have to speak about the big failure. The fact that they gave more than 12 or 20 billion dollars to one business in Ontario to build batteries. And so you can have electric cars coming from China that will be very cheap. They don't want to have that discussion about cheap cars for Canadians. And it's because of them now, because of our Canadian government now, that the agriculture sector is paying the cost with these tariffs that China is imposing on us. Shame on them.
That was Canada's blonde moment, and I am out.